You're listening to the Shared Security Podcast with Tom Eston and Scott Wright, exploring the trust you put in people, apps, and technology.
This month, we're celebrating the 10-year anniversary of this podcast. For the last 10 years, we've been talking about how your private data can be exposed through data breaches, vulnerabilities, exploits, and even through the wireless capabilities of our smartphones and laptops. It seems that in the last 10 years, it's only gotten worse. That's why I recommend the use of a silent pocket Faraday bag to protect my smartphone and laptop, so I have true peace of mind that my wireless devices are protected. Visit silentpocket.com to check out Silent Pocket's line of Faraday bags and other products built to protect your privacy. And don't forget to use discount code SHAREDSECURITY to take 15% off your order at checkout. Oh, and make sure you stay tuned at the end of this podcast for some outtakes from this episode. And thank you for listening and supporting the show these past 10 years.
I wanted to welcome everyone that has joined the live stream, joined the podcast, listening to this podcast. This is, in fact, our 10-year anniversary episode. And honestly, I was going to just let that go, because that was an amazing dialogue and very topical, actually. Very topical.
Sorry.
Yes, but we are joined by Kevin Johnson. I think many of you know who Kevin is.
And if you do, I'm sorry.
Yes, the CEO of Secure Ideas. He's been a frequent guest on the show in the past. He's very opinionated. He, let's see. Yes. Where else? What else should I say about Kevin? Oh, he likes a little movie called Star Wars.
I have been called an asshole in court that wasn't divorce court.
Good point. Yep.
Good answer, Jason. I don't like Star Wars. What are you talking about?
We'll get more into Kevin's Star Wars habit in a minute, but I would also like to introduce Jayson Street. I think many of you know who Jayson is, a man that doesn't require an introduction, has been on the show before. And, Jayson, I don't know how to even introduce you anymore. I mean, you're Jayson Street.
Well, thank you. It's like,
I
don't know how to introduce myself either. It's like I'm that guy. It's like does things and I rob people for a living. So
right. And I guess I could say if you happen to work in a business somewhere and you see Jayson in your building,
tackle him.
It's already too late. He's already won.
Contact security. Don't tackle me.
Yes.
No, I believe
right.
more people should tackle Jayson Street. It's an awkward hug, but aggressive.
No, I'm good with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, Jayson doesn't do aggressive hugs. He does awkward
hugs. That is correct.
So, and then we have Scott Wright, who is the co-host of this podcast. Welcome back, Scott.
Yeah, that's me. Hey guys.
Scott is Canadian.
My identity, I guess that's I gotta live with that.
You gotta live with it.
I feel like he's more than that, though.
Yes.
So I was waiting.
Yeah, sorry, man.
He is more than just Canadian.
Sometimes I got oot and a boot too.
You know the three forms of Canadian encryption, right? Asymmetric, symmetric, and symmetric A. It's the best Canadian encryption joke you've ever heard.
I think it is. Might be the.
Might be.
Still a valid statement.
So I did want to do a little bit of nostalgia here to kind of start the show off. And I went way back to the Social Media Security Podcast, episode 1.
What was that?
So for those of you, So for those of you that don't know, this used to be called the Social Media Security Podcast and was actually started right around the time that, Kevin, you remember that we spoke at DEF CON 17.
Yep.
We gave a little talk called Social Zombies. Your friends want to eat your brains.
I had some great Photoshop pictures of us.
Yes. Jason remembers that. And yes, that was, we closed out DEF CON that year. It was the last talk on a Sunday.
Here's a trivia question for you guys.
That was my first DEF CON talk, was DEF CON 17.
Yeah. Yep.
So I have a trivia question.
So we share
Trivia
that.
question for you guys. How many Facebook users were there in 2009?
3.
They were in our talk. 3 Facebook developers.
A trivia question. I don't know. A million?
No.
I think there was like 50 million or something, wasn't it? Around then?
What are they at now?
Yeah. Oh.
Well,
And it's at least 6,000 or 7,000 of them are me.
Yeah.
that's what I was going to say. What the percentage of fake profiles?
Well, I will tell you that every single
How many are
time-
Kevin's?
Every time I hear Facebook say, well, we aggressively fight against fake users, I say bullshit, because none of my fake accounts have ever been turned off. And I build them. I've actually told, I think in that talk, I actually said it with the Facebook developers there, that they're all using the same domain for email. So they literally could go through and just wipe every account with that email domain, and it would wipe all the Facebook fake ones that I've created.
Yeah.
Which is 80% of the.
Oh no, Russia and China have definitely beat me at creating fake Facebook accounts.
They're just more advanced. That's all.
I think it was. I'm not sure if it was a year or two into our broadcast where we started talking about. There's that one incident. Was it someone named Robin?
Robin Sage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Robin
Everybody was
Sage.
trying to guess who that was.
It was Tom.
No, it wasn't.
That's the rumor I want to start, though.
It was the Fed. Yeah.
Actually, I think,
But
not that.
we did have this music. Do you remember this, Scott?
Deedle-dee-dee-dee-dee.
This is the Social Media
Anybody
Security
hear what he's
Podcast, exposing
Yeah, it's going.
the insecurities of social media.
Dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee.
Your hosts are Tom Eston and Scott Wright.
We don't hear it, Tom.
The most sociable security guys you will
Now?
ever meet.
Nope.
No.
You don't hear that at all? Ah, well, never mind.
Scott set up your microphone, right?
All right, never mind. I fail at audio, but
No, I don't remember that audio.
all right.
It was a lot less funky.
But anyway, yes. We had a different theme song. We had all of that, and then it was 2015. We renamed the
I think so.
podcast Shared
Something like that,
Security.
yeah.
Yep.
We had a long discussion about what we should call it.
Yeah, long. Wasn't like a couple days, and then we had renamed it. So
And then Tom paid how many thousands of dollars for the new logo?
thousands? No, it was about $5 on Fiverr.
That it could only be $5 on Fiverr, right?
That's right. But they actually charge a lot more now, which is kind of against their business model, don't you think?
It's like going to a dollar store and having things be more expensive than $1.
Right.
It's
Right.
false advertising.
Yes, totally. So here we are, and it's been 10 years. And just want to thank you, Scott, for all your contributions. And I know at times, like any podcast, it's hard to, get together. I know we were doing this for once a month for many years, and I think we had a hiatus of
Maybe a year and a half.
maybe no,
Not quite that long.
no, 6 months. Is that a good number?
But I mean,
Yes,
it's
we'll
been
say
10
6
years, and
months.
what's our episode number now of our full episodes? It's around
7.
92.
Yeah, so we're close to once a
Yeah.
or 10 a year.
Yeah, that means you missed 8
Yeah.
at most.
Right. But the weekly show I've been doing for over a year now, and that is at 82.
Ooh.
So I'm almost caught up.
You dog.
Yes. But so thanks for everyone that's listening to the stream. Thank you to our listeners, of course, our sponsors. Helps with paying the bills, so to speak. So. And of course, we wanted to bring back our 2 favorite guests, which is Kevin and Jayson. So thank you again for being on the show. And my first question actually is for Jayson. I wanted to hear more about your hacker adventures. I know you have. I would say you are probably the most traveled hacker that I know, and many of us know. And I'm curious to know about, just in your recent trips and kind of looking back on your experience of seeing all these different countries and, talking to different hackers and security professionals and organizations, kind of what's that left you with after doing all that for so many years?
Well, I don't know if I'm the most traveled. I think I just take the most selfies. And so it appears that I.
Fair enough.
Like, but I think that one of the things that I've learned more than anything else is that I've been to around 50 countries. And one thing that's left is that there's no such thing as a foreigner. I literally sat, it's like when I go on a trip, it's like to a conference, it's like, and I'm blessed enough to be able to do this, is that I don't just have to go to the hotel, go to the conference, and then go to the airport. It's like I make it a point to spend at least a day or two to actually see the city, to see the place I'm at, go venture further away and look at something else that's different. It's like to actually live there, like experience it. And one of the things that I like to do is I like to walk. It's like not in the tourist part, but just walk through the town. And I spent 11 hours walking through the Zidan district in Beijing. It's like I've walked from the Coptic area of Cairo down to the Cairo Tower. I've walked all these different places. It's like I've walked to the mall in Sao Paulo to get some Burger King. It's like I've walked all these streets, and it's the same exact thing. It's like you see people taking their kids to school. You see people going to work. You see people waiting for the bus. You see shopkeepers trying to sell you things. You see tourists taking pictures. We want to keep thinking that, especially here in America, we want to think that like it's different. Somehow it's different over there because they speak a different language, or they pray to a different God, or they dress a certain way. But no, it's like when you come down to it, it's like we're all doing the same thing. We all want to be different. We all want to like make sure that the other person's more scary because we don't know about them. But it's the same thing. And it's the same thing with the hacker community as well. It's like no matter where you go in the world, it's like hackers are still coming with the same thing. They're trying to build stuff out. They're trying to break things in interesting ways and then try to fix them. They're trying to like communicate. They're wondering why no one takes them seriously. They're wondering why they're considered criminals. It's like they're wondering how to actually connect with others at the same time still dealing with their social anxiety and not liking to be around others. So, I mean, it's the sameness that was the most startling, I think, after, I've been traveling for at least over 10 years now. It's like, and that's one of the things that sticks with me the most. It's like, it's just the sameness of it all.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's really
Very
cool.
Deep. Good deep discussion.
Oh, God. I like turtles. It's like,
No, it's cool.
Turtles all the way down.
That's right. That's
I
right.
could have put my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles gym bottoms on.
No, that's cool.
Yeah. So, I guess the message too is, we're all very similar in, I guess from a security perspective and privacy and all that as well. I mean, we all have the same concerns except for Scott because he's in Canada,
Yeah.
but yeah, it is amazing.
The only foreigner.
Right. What's your thoughts just on China specifically? Like, I mean, you talk to actual Chinese, hackers, and you understand the culture there, because you've heard, the Great Chinese Firewall, right? And they are restricted in a lot of ways with their communication and free speech and those things. What's your take on that situation?
One thing, if you watch my DEF CON 22 talk, it's like around the world in 80 cons. It's like I actually take the 5 top things that people say is wrong with China, and I show you in each one of those instances the United States doing the exact same thing. It's like every single one of them, from censoring its people to whatever it is. It's like eavesdropping. It's like, I mean, the NSA spied on the Pope. It's like, so we're doing the same kind of stuff, but we like to cast more doubt on other people. I've spoken at the Beijing Institute of Technology. I'm a guest lecturer there. It's like I deal with a lot with the hacking culture there, and And quite frankly, there's a lot of misperceptions on hackers in the Chinese citizenry as well. It's like, they're like seen as like dark visitors. They're seen as a criminal, and they're trying to like fight that stigma as well and try to say, no, we're trying to make things better. I've always given talks and I always help to help better defenses anywhere. It's like, I don't care where you are in the world. I think one of the stupidest concepts that we have as hackers is letting imaginary, lines on a map dictate who our friends are or who we're supposed to be aligned with or friends with. If you're trying to defend your network, I don't care where you are on this little map thing. It's like, I'll help you. It's like, if you need help. It's like, if you're trying to break in or rob someone or steal something, I'm not going to help you, even if you're inside the same little lines on a map that I'm in. It doesn't work that way. So that's my philosophy.
I do think, though, it just, not to disagree, but because I absolutely agree with the idea that we should be helping everybody who is trying to help.
Right.
I absolutely agree with that. I do think that there is a distinct line, and I don't care what country you are, but we'll pick on China because that's the one you were talking about. There's a distinct line between the hackers in the country and the government of that country.
Correct. Like the NSA hacking into Huawei and putting Trojans on their router equipment. It's like, which is a documented fact that was in the press. It's like, yeah, like the U.S. government going in and breaking into Chinese communication companies and implanting malware into their routing equipment. It's like, yeah, they need to be defended as well. So I just one of the key things is, and China does the same thing, and I understand that. But the one thing that I can't stand more than anything else is hypocrisy. It's like, I'm not saying that America is the best. I love America. I'm American and I get the freedom to say these things, but I'm not going to go and say my house is all shiny and it's like, and your house needs cleaning up. It's like, I tell people one of the biggest things about when they talk about the Russians hacking, it's like, I think about the Russians hacking the election, I think more than anything else, that's just our grapes because we did a better job because the Russians did a better job in this election than we did in South America and Central America and Honduras and Chile with Pinochet and the Shah of Iran. It's like, they got a better deal from their investment and we're sort of like upset about that. But we've done the same thing in other places.
Now, see, here's where I disagree with you. 100%. And here's why. The Russians didn't.
Were not implanted by the United States. Is that what you're saying?
No. You're defending something I'm not arguing against. I am in no way arguing that the U.S. has not fucked up elections all around the world. We absolutely have. I have a core anger at the stupid bullshit marketing that talks about the Russians hacking the election. The Russians did not hack an election. The Russians social engineered the electorate, which just proves that more than half the people in the United States are below average intelligence.
I totally agree with
That's how averages work. Sorry.
I'm not arguing that. And actually, if you looked at my DEF CON 17 talk, where I talked about cyber warfare, I talked about how Russian activities in Estonia were a dry run for what was going to happen in the U.S. 5 to 10 years later. That's documented on video. It's like where I stated that.
Yeah. I hate that we refer to it as they hacked the election. If we want to talk about hacking elections, show me where people changed votes. And I'm not saying it's not possible. I totally believe it's possible.
And I don't really think that Russia did that much of an impact either. It's like, I think it's hilarious that we like to accuse that. Let's face it, certain people didn't campaign in certain places because they thought they were just going to win. But, I'm not trying to be political here. It's
I can be. And I don't side with either one of the two sides in that one.
But that's the key thing, though, is that we have to understand that we can't be hypocrites. It's like our country is good. It's like I like living here and I like the freedoms I have. But that's not going to make me disparage someone else's because of the way they live. We censor the media tremendously here. It's like we don't censor it through government intercession. We do it through media and distraction. It's like, look at the Kardashians. Look at what Britney did. We're still censoring what people see. It's like we're just doing it in a little bit more obfuscated way. So people aren't getting what the news is. It's like eminent domain is taking people's houses because the government says they want that land. That's, I mean, you can't say that
I said forfeiture.
Country's bad because they do this when your own country is doing the exact same thing. That's being a hypocrite, and I can't stand that. Sorry.
Understood.
No,
I'm extra ranty in the mornings. I just woke up.
I hate hypocrisy just as much. I
need to
agree.
wake up more. I'm sorry. It's like
I find it funny that Scott and his country don't have to deal with this.
We don't have a definition for hacking yet, so I don't,
I'm not 100% sure that it's accurate to say Canada's not dealing with the same.
have better PR.
They're just politer about it.
Canada has better PR in their stereotypes. It's like that. That's the key thing. It's like I actually know some Canadians that had gotten a fight in Ireland, and as they were leaving the bar, they started chanting "USA, USA." No, I will admit this. After
you got a Canadian flag in your backpack, right, Jason?
no, I was going to show you my Canadian passport cover, but yeah, I've got it there somewhere. But I literally after 2016, I put my Canadian passport cover back on. It's like
that's fun.
They love that. Awesome. So Kevin, so have you been to Galaxy's Edge yet? Switching topics.
I knew that was going to be the question. I read it when you
know
sent
I'm
it
gonna
out.
ask.
I'm like, there's no way he's going to write this. And you know that I haven't been, and I'm very, very upset about it. I'm going to cry because everybody I know is going and sharing pictures. And I tried to get into the pass holder preview and it sold out before I could. And then it opens the day I actually am going to Dragon Con. Yeah, just so you know, Ben just walked in with his Galaxy's Edge shirt on to make fun of the fact that I wasn't there. See? Right here. And he doesn't realize this is live streaming. But he's like, that's okay. I will be 4 of us from Security. This is not an ad. I'm excited about this. We are actually going to Dragon Con and speaking at Dragon Con. So we've turned Dragon Con into a business expense. And it's one of the days that Galaxy Edge opens. So I have already worked with Denise, my wife, for the people who don't know. She has contacted Disney and gotten a reservation. We're Vacation Club members. Please do not sign up for Disney Vacation Club because the more people who sign up, the less availability there is for us. And so we're going to go down to the condo, and by staying on property, we can go into the park at 6 a.m. And I am going into the park at 6 a.m. and you will definitely see it on Facebook and Twitter and me yelling from the rooftops because I am so excited about Galaxy's Edge. It's ridiculous.
Are you going in costume?
You're not allowed to wear a costume if you're above, I think it's 12, except on very special nights or days. Like, for example, back when there were Star Wars weekends, as a member of the 501st, we actually would go down and march in the parade in costume. And so there you are allowed to. I will be. I'm excited. I spent 5.5 years building a Chewbacca costume. And Saturday, I will be visiting the local children's hospital as Chewbacca. So every other visit I've done, the nurses, the doctors, the kids will ask, do we have a Chewbacca? And we have not had one in Northeast Florida until a couple weeks ago when mine was approved. So I'm very excited. I get to go Saturday. Sorry, tangent.
Very cool.
I'm slightly addicted to building and.
Well, I think one of the key points. It's like, but I mean, and it doesn't. I think you underplay it. Is that you're helping. You're going to children's hospitals. You're going to children's events. You're actually helping the community around you and stuff. And you're bringing happiness and light and stuff to places that are pretty bleak. So I mean, that's recommended more.
I feel conceited agreeing with you. Or narcissistic agreeing. Like, of course, look how great I am. I am privileged to be a member of the Rebel Legion and the 501st. And I will tell you that it makes every penny and every cut you got when you were building the costume. And And let's just say there were quite a few pennies. Every once in a while, my wife looks at the spreadsheet of how much I've spent on costumes, and she gets upset. And we there is something about we went to the Wilsons. It's one of the children's hospital local here. One of the trips, and there was a kid, and he might have been 4, and we went into the room, and he was there laying and really sick, and so hey, how you doing, kid? Right, like whatever. And when we walked away, and the way the rooms are set up, they're in pods. So you go down this little tiny hallway, and there's 4 rooms, and then you go to the next, and it's a circle, right? So and then you go to the next floor and do the same thing, and go to the next floor. And we walked into the one room. The kid was there. We talked to him. Not a big reaction, nothing. Which is, it's not a complaint. Like, you got kids who are fighting terminal diseases, and walked out. We went about 3/4 of the way around the circle. The nurse came running, and she's like, "Hey, sorry to bother you, but do you mind holding up?" And the kid had gotten so excited about seeing us that I guess the nurse had said he had not been out of bed in like 2 weeks, and he made them get him dressed, and then he walked around with us holding various hands as he was for like the next 2 hours. And I will admit freely that I don't think there was a single one of us who wasn't crying in our helmets. Sorry. That's why we wear the helmets. So it does more for us than it does for them. And while I can agree with you, Jayson, that we are helping them, I believe we are better for having done it than not doing it. That is just that simple. We get more out of it than the kids do. So, but it's awesome. And I will say, I'm going to throw it out. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to advertise. December 7th, we're doing another visit here in Northeast Florida. And if you want to send donations of toys that we can give, please wrapped, like not wrapped as in Christmas wrap, but sealed. Like don't send. If you want, send them to my office, and we will. Every single one of them will be donated. Because what we do is for Christmas, we go in costume and we hand out the toys to all the kids, and we never have enough. And nothing big, right? But if you want to, send it to me.
Awesome.
Sorry, tangent.
So I think that's one of the key things. I mean, it's like hackers are not just, in front of the computer breaking things. Like, we're trying to make a difference. It's part of our nature to make a difference.
Heck, do you know how many of the people we know and hang out with are in the 501st? Every single time I find somebody new in it, it's like, oh, hey, I didn't know. Rich Mogul, Derek Rook, Scott Lyons. And even more. Those are the 3 off the top of my head that I know. And heck, half of my company. I might be biased toward hiring people from the 501st. I don't know.
Well, you just make your employees make the costumes. So.
No, that's not true. I do not believe I have made any of them do it.
Benefits.
They have definitely helped.
Sweatshop.
The Gamorrean out there, the Chewie, this Sand Trooper. Yeah. We spent one afternoon weathering the Sand Trooper behind me to finish it up. Nathan bought his at Walmart. Not approved, though, nor is it approvable.
Yes. And now a word from our sponsor, Edgewise Networks. The biggest problem in security that remains unsolved is unprotected attack paths that allow threats to compromise vulnerable targets in the cloud and data center. But traditional microsegmentation is too complex and time-consuming and offers limited value that's hard to measure. But there's a better approach, Edgewise Zero Trust Auto Segmentation. Edgewise is impossibly simple microsegmentation, delivering results immediately with a security outcome that's provable and management that's zero touch. At the core of Edgewise auto segmentation is Zero Trust Identity, which automatically builds unique identities for all communicating software and devices by combining cryptographic properties of the workload with risk classifications. Edgewise protects any application in any environment without any architectural changes. Edgewise provides measurable improvement by quantifying attack path risk reduction and demonstrates isolation between critical services so that your applications can't be breached. Visit edgewise.net to find out more about how Edgewise can help stop data breaches.
So as we kind of look back at 10 years, 10-year anniversary of the podcast, 10 years doing security, InfoSec, privacy stuff, all of us, like the four of us, right? What has changed in 10 years? Has it gotten better? Has it gotten worse? Well, I think we say it got worse, right? But what has gotten better in these 10 years? What's everyone's thoughts?
I'll start it off.
I feel like I'd be hard pressed. I'm sorry,
Jayson, you go.
Controversial, so it's like you'll have something to rebut against. It's like I think we've what's gotten better is I think that there's less of a dependence on blinky boxes. It's like, I mean, we still have the technology out there, but people are starting to slowly understand that it's not just technology that's going to solve this issue. You've got more people actually putting the onus on developers that they have to start coding more securely. We have to start doing more security awareness for our users. I think that those are still ideals that we haven't reached yet, but at least are being discussed more openly now. And but it's not just here's the blinky box that's going to solve everything through AI learning on the blockchain and secure your cloud. It's like, so.
Do you see the venture capital money falling in his room now? Because he said AI and blockchain.
So I think that's changed for the better. Is that we're not just trying to put use these little different panaceas on it. It's like we're not just saying, hey, this is going to solve this. It's got to be more complex than that. It's like our issues are more complex than that. So I see that as changing for the better. It's like communicating to the normal business units on the need for actual security implementation, not just a device to make them feel better and make them compliant.
Yeah, good point.
I think that you've got some very valid points there, and I think that I don't think we've gotten better, and the reason I don't think we've gotten better is because I think what we're seeing is that more people are paying attention, which sounds like it would be better. But there's also way more people giving out crap information. And so while we've raised awareness, and I personally believe we shouldn't do more user awareness at all. And to be very blunt, I sell a user awareness product. So you would think I would say, yes, buy that. No. I don't think we should do more user awareness training. I think that user awareness training has been shown to fail. And why it fails is not because people don't care. It fails because we tell people, and the example I always give is, how many people on this call, how many people on this podcast did annual user awareness training this year? And I'll guarantee you, everybody except for Jayson. Because he did the user awareness training, right? Now let me ask you a question. How many of you got a link in email that said, click here to do your user awareness training, that then told you not to click links in email? And I've told people, save money. Just put a website that says you shouldn't have done that and send that link out. The problem is we have continued to build our processes to require insecure interaction, right? We send out way more things inside of our businesses that have a link in it to like, hey, click this link and do the next step in the process. So on one hand, we tell people to stop doing something, and then we force them to do that something.
But what I think the problem is that we're looking at the dynamic of getting technology to protect our users from themselves instead of getting our users to protect our technology and using the technology to enhance it. So I would say with your case, yes, that is a problem sending internal email, but that would also be solved. And also a lot of the CEO spear phishing attacks or the iTunes gift card thing would be solved if you just put on the Exchange server using technology that said, whenever an external email comes in, there's a header that's automatically included saying, from an external source, this is not from your boss. Hold on. Okay.
Nope.
And another thing I see is that what are the repercussions when they do something wrong. Security has been referred as being delegated to the janitorial staff. It's like when a breach happens, we clean up the mess. We restage the laptop. I'm going to keep going on this, and there's going to be a lot of fights on this, but it's like I'm in the strict belief that if I hire a delivery driver and they wreck my van 3 times, I have every right to fire them. If an employee clicks on a spear phishing email link or a phishing link for 3 times, I have every right to fire them. It's like if they're going against company policy and procedures and putting my job and my company at risk by casually clicking on links and going to websites that they're not supposed to go on, just like if they were going on foreign sites, that's an HR offense. That is against company policy and procedures, and they should be fired.
But I will tell you, I absolutely agree with you in the simplistic statement. They're doing something they're told not to do. They should be fired. I agree. I personally think you don't do the right thing, get the hell out. We're paying you a paycheck to do it right. And it's really nice for us to be able to say that. But the reality is we tell people not to do something and then we force them to do it. And so in my opinion, we're not solving it with technology. What we need to do is to stop where we focus on the problem. Every single time I talk to real users, they know they shouldn't click links. They know we've gotten that message out. We've beat that dead horse for years. What we should be doing is explaining why 100%. We shouldn't do things. It's the conversation we had about TSA earlier. We do not encourage critical thinking behind the thousands standing around airports. We don't do the same thing with users. We don't do the same thing with developers. We don't do the same thing with management. I read this article yesterday, and I don't remember where. I don't remember who wrote it, so I'm going to uncredit the quote, right? I'm stealing the copyright. I'm Jayson Scott. But so it talked about the fact that we shouldn't hold CEOs accountable. I'm a CEO, bias, for breaches because they don't have any control over that. I think that's crap. But the problem we have is we hide security as a silo, as an ivory tower, as a whatever. If we want to do better, and I think, I can't say we're not improving anything, but if we want to do better, we have to start giving people the facts, giving people the information so that they can do the critical thinking for them. And what I find time and time and time again is that when we have a company that has fallen for the CEO email that, oh, transfer $100 million out of this account to that account, and I need it now. Don't call me and bother me with this. The reason that works is because the company has been managed, not led, managed by fear. And so it's like, well, if you don't do your job right, you're out of here. If you click that link, you're fired. And so what happens is people are so afraid of not doing the right thing that they end up doing the wrong thing. And we just need to be open. I've said 1,000,000 times that Secure Ideas' business goal is to be put out of business. Our goal is to educate people so they don't need us. And I think you and I ultimately agree a lot of that, right? Yeah. I think the other problem, though, is that we continue to allow people to stupidly talk. So let me ask you a question.
Oh, boy.
I'm asking in general, how many of you have seen the starting tomorrow, Facebook's copyright will own your pictures unless you share this stupid notice, right? I've asked 1,000,000 people. We've seen this notice for years. It has no date on it. It always says tomorrow. Yet people keep sharing it, right? And I say to people, well, and their answer is, well, it doesn't hurt anything. It's like, actually, it does hurt stuff. Because here's the thing it hurts. You shared stupidity. You made everybody around you dumber, right? So that's bad. But on top of that, the Facebook algorithm now knows you're a jackass. And so it's going to share more fake information with you because all the jackasses share the same stuff. So it bubbles all the stupid stuff to the top. So
that's what Cambridge Analytica is for. But
Cambridge Analytica, say Tom Eston, because he did that.
I want to go to one big point about when you're talking about the users and you're talking about the fear. It's like you have to understand. It's like, and one of the key things is that we don't put enough blame where it truly belongs, and that's on our industry. It's like I gave a whole talk about this a year or so ago, where an employee, you hire an employee to do their job, to do the things that are required of them, and they will do what is required for them to feed and clothe their children. It's like in family, they will do what is required. If it's dictated for you to stay employed, you need to make this widget, you need to produce this widget, these are all the steps you need. We have failed in security at the very beginning of their training to let them understand you are part of the security department as well. Part of your job responsibility, part of the reason why you get a paycheck is to take security seriously on your devices, on your equipment, on your company equipment. It's like, and you have to take those things seriously. We're not putting the onus on them that their job is tied to how they do the security. And if
That's victim blame. That's the same as telling a woman she wore a small short skirt. That she was raped. I'm sorry, it is. The onus for hacking is on the people who hack.
No.
Yeah, I did.
No.
I totally went there. The onus on hacking is on the person who hacked.
And you're using that heavy equipment on the assembly line, and you're doing it callously, and you're not doing it properly, and you're not engaging the safe, and you actually damage a car on the assembly line, you shouldn't be responsible for that.
I totally agree with that.
You totally agree. Responsible
for that. But I totally agree that if I'm working with heavy equipment and I use the heavy equipment negligently, I should be held accountable. I also believe that if I'm using the internet and I use it negligently, I should be held accountable for it. My disagreement is we're saying, what if I understood you correctly, what you just said is that the onus for security failure is on the fact that the security teams are putting responsibility in the wrong place. We're not letting people, and I agree, everybody's part of the security team. We shouldn't have a security team. We should have people. My problem with it is we as an industry, on one hand say, well, that company screwed up, they didn't do the right thing. On the other hand, we put Kevin Mitnick on the stage. We put Chris Roberts on the stage. We put the guys who downloaded the Boeing stuff, I don't remember their name, and posted it at Black Hat. And we hold these idiots up. The onus for hacking is on the people who break the law. We do not say that guy murdered somebody and it's because the company didn't put a policy in that said don't murder people.
And I understand that. It's like, but I'm not trying to say, it's like criminals are criminals. It's like, and that's what happened. It's like, but once again, we're going back to the industry going inside. And part of the problem with our industry is victim blaming. It's like, I'm not saying you should be, I'm saying though, that there should be security policies. If I hire a delivery driver, when I tell them that they get the job, I don't just hand them the keys. They have to go through our driving school. They have to know the blinkers you're supposed to use. This is the road laws you're supposed to go. When you're using this equipment, this is how you're supposed to use the equipment. It's like, why are we treating the laptop different than a delivery van?
But we're not treating the laptop. The companies have those policies. And I will tell you right now, if I send you an email right now from Dropbox.com, you're going to read it as Dropbox.com, even though the D has a dot under it.
But we need to protect our users from that. It's like, that's why I said there has to be a blending of technology. But
how do you protect the users from that?
A user has to be allowed to do critical thinking and allowed to understand that they're part of security. I've always said that users are never going to care about your data. Stop trying to get users to care about your data. You teach your users how to be security conscious at home. You teach them how to be security conscious when they are doing stuff online, how to check their Facebook privacy settings, how to check to see what their children are doing online, how to update their routers when the alerts go on. Send out email alerts when there's a new iOS update or a new Android. Get them concerned and interested in security for their personal life, and then they'll bring it back to work because they still won't care about your data, but they'll be more security conscious. That's what you're trying to do.
Totally agree. I totally agree with that. Where you lose me in agreement is when you say the person clicks email 3 times and you fire them. Because we've set up an environment that the person has no way to not click at emails.
No, that's not true. How many jobs?
We can disagree with that one.
Job roles that don't require email links coming in to someone.
Do you get a payroll every?
Yes.
Do you get a paycheck every 2 weeks? Do you have an email that comes to you that says, "Hey, here's your paycheck. Check the
do
stub
not.
here."
And
with
if
an email?
I did, and it came from an external source, it would say, "External source, please use."
You don't get an email
No.
from your payroll? Weird. Every company I've ever worked for, including the one I
turned
own,
mine off.
you get an email that says you got a paycheck.
I don't want the email. So
and there's a link.
I don't want the
I'm
email.
sorry?
So I turned that feature
I
off.
really don't.
I totally agree with you for turning off the feature. I'm just saying that the system sends it, right? There is not a single job role that uses technology at all. I broke into an airline by convincing a baggage handler to
Right.
click a link. I mean, every job has email at some
Yeah, but
point.
I'm not
Every
saying-
job
Exactly,
has
but there's
links.
educational process going through critical thinking. That's why I'm saying you fire. I'm saying you're hearing the fire it 3 times. You're not hearing that on the first instance. They need to be re-educated. They need to go. They need to go.
But Jason, the problem with saying re-educated is unless you're getting them to not click any email, how are you educating them to recognize a phishing
taking
link?
precautions. It's like looking at where the arrow's coming from.
No. How do you recognize a phishing
Looking from
link?
where the Earl's coming from. Is it from an unusual source? Is it from something that does not happen regularly in your day-to-day job? It's like, because you need to understand, a lot of these things are abnormal. They are not something that they deal with on a regular basis. It's like, so,
I think that you and I have a completely different experience
I
with
bet.
phishing. Because the phishing emails that I both respond to from IR and send as a phishing test are absolutely a normal part of their job. If I send a phishing email I totally agree with you. You get an email that says, click this link because the Nigerian prince wants to give you $1 billion. That person shouldn't be fired. They should be set on fire. Okay. But the emails we send, you look at a phishing email from Secure Ideas, you look at a phishing email that people are actually falling for. The person transferring $100,000 from the payroll account to the savings account in the Ukraine, that's an email they get multiple times a week. The only difference is
process comes into place because there should be dual factor. Then there should be something where you can't just.
Who said there wasn't dual factor?
You got to.
I think the problem here, Jason, is that you haven't managed that system. Because if you go work in an IT department, and I have no idea if you have or not, but I think that if you go,
I started in help desk
I'm
in
sorry?
IT over 25 years ago.
cool. And you look at the emails that come out of the help desk, those are normal behaviors in a business. And the phishing attacks that are successful are the exact same normal behaviors. And we're not even getting into Joe Schmo fell for a phishing attack and I logged into his email and sent the email from him, right? We're not even going to get into that. The emails look normal. And I'm not saying it's okay to click them. I'm just saying we're building systems, training people the opposite of security. And as long as we build systems, as long as you get an email from your bank that says, click here to see your balance, as long as you get an email from the SharePoint server inside your network that says there's a document for you to approve so it can be published because that's the workflow, as long as email clicking of links is a core workflow across the board in HR, in accounting, in management, in training, in IT, we're going to have a phishing problem. Until we stop making email a mandatory part of a workflow, we are not going to.
Can I make a suggestion here?
Yeah.
I like to, yeah.
I actually have to go.
I want to hear from
couple minutes.
Scott.
Awesome conversation, though. I mean, everybody has valid points, I think. And I can see where the conflicts are, obviously. I don't agree with everything. But one of the things that I see from my point of view, I worked mostly in risk management for enterprise systems over the last 10, 15 years. And there's always going to be the gap between technology and the people that the attackers are going to try to exploit. You know, as soon as we fix something with the technology, the attackers keep looking for the edges of the edge cases, right, that the technology doesn't do and what they can get humans with access to do. And so from my point of view, I think you both have good points, but we have to train people better. But what we're training people to do a task like driving a truck or whatever is different than training people to stop doing what they were supposed to be doing so that they can take an extra precaution and authenticate something or double check a URL, right? And then you have to teach them the process of actually how to look at the URL itself and analyze it. So that's the stuff I'm working on right now with gamification, is to try and get people educated based on exercising the lessons individually of how to look at a sender name and URL, how to look at a link URL, and how to look at the content of an email, because phishing messages are going to come forever, right? It doesn't matter what we do technologically, but there's always going to be the case where there is a risk that people are going to do the wrong thing when they get it. So that's my point of view.
And how they're reporting, part of my Black Hat training is talking about doing gamification. It's like doing more involvement in security awareness training. It's like with your employees, getting them vested in actually doing something. So, I mean, that is one of the key things, but it's making them more active than passive.
Absolutely.
It's actively concerned and making them understanding that they're actively part of the security team. And the security team is not just an enforcement branch. It is there to actually help them and actually help facilitate them being more secure. So, I mean, I think that's one of the key roles that we fill out is communication factor on that.
Yep, for sure.
Great conversation. Heated. I like it. That was good. Thank you all for your opinions and your thoughts on that topic. And I guess to summarize, let's see if things get better in the next 10 years, right?
Actually, now that you say I have to say one thing before we go. When you say the next 10 years, it brings back a memory of, and I'm not going to get flamed by this for this, but there was a statement in 2005 posted on somebody's blog who was a security expert and still is. I'm not going to name names, but
it was Tom.
No, it was somebody who posted. I'll give you a hint. It's the 6 dumbest things in security. Does that ring a bell? It was a blog post. If you Google it, you'll find it. And one of them was user education, user awareness education is the dumbest thing, or one of them. And it said in 10 years, we won't need to teach people about this stuff because the people who are too stupid won't, they'll weed themselves out. And 10 years later, we were in worse shape than we were when that statement was made by a security expert. So I think it's going to be a fun 10 years.
It will be for sure.
Anyways, I must go.
All right. And with that, we are at the almost 2:00. So want to thank everyone for listening, everyone watching the stream. Much appreciated. Thank you for listening and subscribing to the podcast. Thank you, Jayson. Thank you, Kevin, for joining us. Love always the debates. Fun. This is always a good time. These are really, hugely important topics, and I'm so glad that we can all have constructive dialogues about them. There's no one single easy answer for any of this, but that's why we are in the fields that we are in, so to help hopefully solve these problems. So,
all right, I'm signing off, guys. We'll see you.
All right, guys.
We'll see you again.
Fun, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Appreciate your time. See you guys.
By the way, if you're curious, Vockling works on a Pixel book.
Nice.
Oh, so you're on a Pixel book. Wow.
Yes. I really like it. I do a number of my travels are like go, speak, leave, right? And being able to travel with a 13-inch Pixel book and do my full presentations and everything else, I'm really happy with.
I printed off a mini iPad. It's like, that's one thing you learn. It's like the smaller you can get, the better.
Yep.
It's like I now have a Surface Go. I'm getting an iPad Pro for Mac stuff, and then I've got a Pwn Pad for my Linux environment, and that's my setup when I'm traveling.
Nice.
If I need to bring a bigger bag, it's like, well, then I'll have my other laptops. But if I'm going to mainly present, it's like, well, then I don't need to carry a whole bunch of gear.
Absolutely right. And for me, I'm lazy, so not carrying lots of stuff is nice, because I still get yelled at by TSA on every trip, and it really pisses me off.
Of course you do.
I've got pre-check, and so I go to the pre-check line, and I know, like, if I'm traveling with laptops, I know I have the Pixelbook, I have a full-size laptop, I have a Kindle, I have an iPad, and I know that when it goes through, they're going to pull it aside and look at all the crap. I also have a microphone, which I've stopped carrying because I realized after like the 12th time they pulled it that it looked like a grenade.
Oh, nice.
On the X-ray. It had folding legs and it looked like a grenade. And so I'll get to the pre-check. I'll start to pull the laptops out, and the dude will yell at me. Like, he'll be like, "You're in pre-check. You don't have to take that out." And I'll try to explain to him, "No, I have multiple. Oh, keep it moving." And then I'll go through, and the same jackass will pull my bag and then yell at me for not pulling the electronics out. And it's like,
security.
You're who yelled at me not to. Do you not remember 30? Oh, of course you don't. You work for TSA, which automatically means you're an idiot.
Yeah. I carry all my things on my bag, and I do it deliberately to mess with them. It's like screw them. It's like, and then I'm in pre-check, and I ask for the bucket. When you ask for a in pre-check, it's like you're asking for, like, caviar, and I'm like, no, yes. I got these keychains. They're going to go in the tray. It's like, period. Just to mess with them, because it's like, screw security theater. And that's all that is.
I don't do it to mess with them because I hate them anyways. Yeah. And I don't use the word hate very often. I know. Jayson and I are now going down a tangent, and the live stream has probably already started.
Oh, yeah.
You haven't done oh, damn, it's the 10th anniversary. Like, we're hijacking this whole thing to bitch about TSA. The next hour, we'll talk about the thousands standing around.
It's about TSA. It fits relatively great in security because it's a perfect example of not allowing your employees to do critical thinking when they're on the job trying to do security. If you
see, that implies employees could do critical thinking.
If you only let them do signatures, if you only let them go like this, yes, they won't. They will make sure you don't have 4 ounces of toothpaste, but 67% of the bombs, knives, and guns will get through the line because they're making sure you don't have 4 ounces of toothpaste.
The fact that I've read, and every time I've looked it up, it's true. I don't know the exact number, but something like it's the valid statement that I can do without numbers is more TSA agents have been arrested while on duty than they have stopped terrorists going through.
100% true, and I've said that. It's like when I left DEF CON, I shipped my cool shirt, my Thanos glove, and my chair because honestly, I just didn't want them stolen by the TSA. It's like I knew that's my threat model. Is not someone a criminal, not someone from a terrorist going through my luggage. It's from the people that are supposedly to protect me that are going through my luggage, and obviously documented and recorded in history and in arrest records, stealing stuff from people's luggage.
But I will say there are good TSA agents out there that just haven't realized they're working for a shitty organization. And now at that point, let's let Scott and Tom do what they wanted to do.
No, they keep going. This is amazing.
I'm being the corporate secretary. I'm going to post on the chat that quote from Kevin.
Which quote?
Yeah.
More TSA agents.
But that was Jason's quote as well. I just repeated it. I still remember I made it to LA and I was leaving LAX and a TSA agent found my lockpicks. And yeah, Nathan's right. You can have a felony and still be a TSA officer. They're not agents and they're not law enforcement. So the TSA guy stops me at LAX and he finds my lockpicks, and which I had forgotten were in there, but that doesn't matter because they're legal in LA. And he says to me, these lockpicks are illegal here. And I heard a voice that sounded a lot like mine, but I can't imagine I would say this. You're not a cop. The TSA guy says, "Don't let me find them again." And that same voice said out loud, "Are you asking me to hide them better?" Like, I don't think this conversation meant what you think it meant.
Oh my God.
But I made my flight, by the way, for the people curious.
I almost got arrested in Switzerland once because I made it through security, and I bought a little boy's magazine, a little child's magazine that had a.
That's probably not the way you want to phrase that.
It's for my son. It's a blue and green. It had a blue and green water gun, clear plastic water gun, still wrapped in the little Shrek magazine that it was with, and I get to the gate, and all of a sudden there's a secondary check because I'm going to the U.S.
Oh,
They ask me, do you have any guns or gun-like objects? Well, I'm like, I'm honest. And I said, yes, I have a water gun that I bought here in the airport. And they let me see it. They said, let me see it. I showed them, you can't take that on the plane. And I got it. You've got to be kidding me. Do you know how stupid you are right now? It's decent. And I just went off on him. It's like, I need to talk to your supervisor. This stupidity can't keep going. It's like, I bought this at your airport. How can you sell something at your airport that you're saying you're not allowed to put on the plane? And I went off. And then the supervisor came. And I explained, it's like, it's because you people are so stupid that you have these rules that you don't know how to actually think with your brain that this is not really going to be a threat. And the reason why, I finally, it was literally when he started getting mad, it's like I could see that he was leaning toward me a little bit, that I was like, okay, I'm about to end up in jail here. But what upset me the most, that they had not realized, was the first question they asked me was about the gun.
Yeah.
I had also purchased a Swiss Army knife with a 5-inch blade. It was in my luggage. I carried it to America with no problem. Okay, because they couldn't get past the water gun. And it's like, and as soon as I got there, I had to put it in my check baggage. It's like, but I carried a Swiss Army knife. It's like, wow.
But that's okay because the Swiss Army is neutral.
God.
So are we going to have to rename the podcast, Tom, after today?
TSA complaints and
Well, I mean, we can complain about other stuff. I was peed on a plane. I was knocked unconscious on a plane. I mean,
air travel in North America, the 10-year anniversary episode.
I have horrible experiences on planes.
You do. And before we get into more of your experiences, Kevin, yes.